Welcome to the session number 7 of Vedic Unified Theory of Matter and Consciousness. This is a repeat session because the last time when we were conducting it, we lost the internet link towards the end. Let me share the slides with you so that we get going. Yeah, this is the slide number 1, the title slide. The course title is The Vedic Unified Theory of Matter and Consciousness, VUT in short. And last week we entered into a new section of a trinity, what is called action and upasana. So last week we discussed in session number 6 the subject of knowledge and what all this is about, how can we acquire it, and transmission of knowledge, etc. In that series, we are going to discuss today action. The Sanskrit word is karma. So that is the topic of discussion in today's session number 7. A very quick review of the previous 6 sessions. What is displayed here is their titles, so that gives you an idea how these sessions have been planned and how are we learning this topic of Vedic Unified Theory of Matter and Consciousness. So very first session was devoted to an overview of present world scenario as it exists, population mainly divided between two poles of science and religion. And we took the opportunity to say that it is desirable to develop a unified theory, matter and consciousness that can explain all the events in the world properly and will most likely motivate us to reach out for a lasting world peace. In session number 2, we examine the body of Vedic literature. The background was that before the onset of religions about 5,000 years ago, the Vedic literature existed, and that guided the humanity in a particular manner. Could we say that the Vedic literature is a readily available blueprint for us to benefit from? So session number 2 was devoted to a historical perspective of Satya Sanatan Vedic Dharma. The term Dharma was not to be seen as religion, but as a holistic behavior of human beings that includes our interactions with one another and with that of environment and so on and so forth. It's a total package as far as human beings on the earth are concerned. Then we get into the specifics of the Vedic unified theory and see what does it have to teach us insofar as an inquiry about my own self is concerned. As a human being, we want to know who am I, my total I-ness, my total being, because that is a very important question which can help me find the future directions to my life. What could be the objectives of my life? Why do I exist in the world? So it is very important to know who am I exactly? Of course, we are conscious beings, and so are many other species. Then in session number 4, we tried to single out certain parameters which tell us what exactly are, how exactly we are different from millions of other species. Because that is very important to know that human life, of course, anybody's life is important, but human life is quite precious and it should be utilized in a proper manner. We shouldn't let it pass just like time is of course going to not wait for anybody, but we want to make best use of our life. Unique parameters help us guide how we should utilize our unique features. So number 3 and 4 are quite interrelated, but they prepare us to examine a broad inquiry about the world we live in. So session number 5 was titled as How Did the Universe Come From? How is it sustained? Just like in our tiny homes, we are the maker of the home and we ensure that all the things function in the home in a proper manner, a smooth manner. Is there such a maker of the universe also? And then we, of course, realized that there is always a non physical consciousness that can only make and then dissolve the universe. Because we have seen in the previous sessions 3 and 4 that only a non physical consciousness has an ability to know, to experience, and to act. So there are a lot of natural events taking place in the universe. Who is causing it? And that could not be due to our consciousness. We have many limitations. We cannot make the sun and the moon and the earth and make them move around in a particular manner in the solar system. So there has to be another infinite consciousness. And then we realized in session number 5, there have to be 3 eternal entities in the universe. So to explain what all is happening here, namely infinite consciousness, that is the maker of the universe. Universe is made out of matter in its most primary form, and then it is we, the consciousness, infinite of us, we are the end user or beneficiary of this universe. Three entities are eternal, causeless, they exist. All the phenomena we see in the universe are on account of these 3 entities. Then we come back to our pursuits of life once we are in this world, which is part of the universe, and that has been well designed and made by another infinite consciousness. Then how should we conduct ourselves? So we said that our 3 abilities are unique powers: ability to know, ability to act, and ability to experience. So we want to discuss them in greater detail so that convince ourselves we can find the ways that we utilize these powers, 3 powers, in a most judicious manner, in a sensible manner. So last week in session number 6, we looked at all the aspects of knowledge that we are concerned with. And today in session number 7, we are going to look at our actions, our ability to act. The session number 6 also had slight deception towards the very end when I was at the last summary slide. So I begin from that point. This was the summary of session 6 devoted to knowledge. So we had noticed that we are interested in knowledge, and so is the importance for other animals, birds, and other species. But we notice there is a very unique feature that they function mostly instinctively while we function intellectually. And that is a high order freedom we have. We are not programmed. All other species are programmed. Their knowledge which they will need in their life is embedded in their mind at their time of their birth. And all members of a particular species inherit that body of knowledge which they use in their day to day life. And over and above that, there is not much room for them to add on knowledge. Maybe some small fraction, but they predominantly behave, utilize their knowledge which they are equipped with in a very natural manner. Whereas we are very much different from other species, we do have some instinctive knowledge, particularly related to survival, etc. But otherwise, we gain knowledge from in our life day after day. And of course, this is a very important function of humanity, and we consider it very sacrosanct. We are very concerned that we pass on our knowledge from our generation to the next generation, and even among ourselves. Talking about knowledge, we at the outset we said Sanskrit language has two terms, two words for knowledge, namely Vidya and Jnana. Vidya is knowledge that is existing in the universe, that is scattered in the universe, and we are interested in knowing it. And what we have finally gathered is our Jnana. So Vidya is, so to say, infinite, but our Jnana is finite. So this is uh, an important observation, and that's what leads us to say that knowledge in the universe has been existent. We don't create knowledge, we don't invent knowledge, we merely discover it. As if there was a cover on a piece of knowledge, a cover of cloud, and that has been removed. This cover, that cover has been removed, has been displaced, and now we have become aware of that piece of knowledge. But it always existed. For example, gravitational force of the earth. Earth has always been pulling all objects towards its center. But it was one day that we came to know of it. And we realized that yes, the earth has this kind of a characteristic. Now, knowledge is to know a thing as it is, and we make an observation that there are two distinct kinds of things in the universe: animate world and inanimate world, conscious beings and non-conscious things. So we say that consciousness is, and that is the statement of Vedic unified theory, consciousness is not a resultant of matter, it is distinctly different attribute, and That is, because matter doesn't exhibit consciousness, consciousness must be the attribute of something non physical. So there are two kinds of things: physical things made of matter, which in a gross quantity becomes a gross object, coarse object, and there is something like a non physical, abstract like entity, that is non physical consciousness. So these two things are distinctly present in the universe, and we ought to get to know them. So, knowledge pertaining to matter in the Vedic vocabulary is called avidya, and knowledge pertaining to consciousness is said to be vidya. So, though the word vidya was listed here in the second line, which is knowledge of all that exists, but the term vidya in a different context means knowledge pertaining to consciousness, and avidya means knowledge pertaining to matter. They also, so knowledge pertaining to matter is referred to as avidya and also as apaya, whereas that of consciousness is referred to as vidya as well as payavidya. Now, out of avidya, that is knowledge pertaining to matter, there are again two kinds of things that are made of matter. One things are called as coarse gross objects. They are they get registered to us via our five sensory organs. And then we are familiar with it. They are very tiny particles made of matter that cannot be known via our five sensory organs. So they are called as subtle entities. So the statement here is out of avidya, the knowledge pertaining to matter, there are gross entities and subtle entities. Gross entities are known, can be known theoretically through our sensory organs, but subtle entities cannot be known through our senses simply because there are things made of matter, because our instruments of mind and other constituents of mind are subtle entities made of matter. They are the instruments, and obviously, an instrument cannot discern something that is more subtle than that particular instrument. So, that being the case, the subtle entities cannot be known by us by our instruments, and if at all they can be known direct by our consciousness from that infinite consciousness. And that is what is a possibility in deep meditation, that and is referred to as sampajñāt samadhi in Patanjali's treatise on yoga in Yoga Sutra. So this is experiential learning of vidya. That is another aspect. Vidya is pertaining to knowledge pertaining to consciousness, and that of course cannot be discerned by the instruments that are made of matter because they are more subtle. So that can be known only when I am disconnect from my mind. That is asampajñāt samadhi. Then I get to know my own self. When I am disconnect from my mind, when my mind is absolutely blank, and then I may get to know that infinite consciousness also. So the mechanism of acquisition of knowledge becomes quite subtle for two kinds of things. the subtle entities made of matter and subtle entities that are consciousness. We have also discussed the means and objective of our life, in particular knowledge acquisition of vidya and avidya. Avidya is knowledge pertaining to matter that actually is the means to survive in this world. But human life is beyond that, is is more, can achieve much more than what animals, birds can do. They also survive in this world, but that is where the objective of human life lies. We want to get to know our own true self. Who am I? That self realization. And also, if not to know, at least to be with that infinite consciousness. And being with him is called upasana, that will be discussed in the next session. We have also noticed these two kinds of knowledge, namely avidya pertaining to matter and vidya pertaining to consciousness. Of course, they must be acquired and guarded. And in general, it is true. If you are not very careful, knowledge may disappear with time, devolve with time. And if we are careful, that's what the modern present age of science is all about, that our avidya is can evolve with time too. We are building up our understanding of matter. There are new and new discoveries, and our technological advancement is attesting to the fact that we are gaining more and more knowledge pertaining to the matter. That says that if we are careful, if we are diligent, if we are working hard in the right direction, our avidya may evolve with time. But it is not that simple about vidya, namely knowledge pertaining to consciousness. Our vidya can never exceed, and the benchmark is what we were given in the word of the Vedas. So, to say like we recite Gayatri Mantra in the meditation practice, it's the start of such sessions. Gayatri Mantra has a message, and no human being will ever be able to compose a verse in any language that exceeds the depth and width and breadth of Gayatri Mantra. So, we are much more concerned in protecting our Vidya. We should be, because once that is lost, we cannot, it is very, very difficult to bring it back in our fold. And even if we are capable of doing that, that's what we discussed in session number 2. We gave credit to Acharya Shankar and Maharishi Dayanand that our ability to discern the meaning of true meaning of the Vedas that was lost in last 5,000 years or so. Now that has been revived to some extent by these two great personalities. But suppose we make further progress, we must realize we will never be able to exceed beyond the content and message of the Vedas. That's why Satya Sanatan Vedic Dharma, blueprint of Vedas, will always be relevant. And that is the motivation to discuss these issues in this particular course, that we must try to get to the meaning of the Vedic philosophy and how it can benefit us in this life. Now we go on to session number 7. As I said, this is a part of a 3-session section. That particular section is dedicated to our threefold pursuits. What are they? Knowledge, action, and upasana. They very well correspond to our extraordinary powers of our consciousness, namely to know, to act, and to experience. When it comes to experience, the climax of that is being in upasana, which is one step above the deep sleep. We know that all the experiences, infinite experiences of human life, are subjective. Somebody likes X, somebody likes Y, and there can be no concurrence on that. Yet, in this situation, we can say there is only one experience that is, and when we have it, we say we enjoyed it. And that experience is that of deep, dreamless sleep, what is called sushupti in Sanskrit. So, deep, dreamless sleep gives us a clue that when I am thoroughly inactive in my body and mind, void of any conscious functions, and nothing is happening in my body and mind, then I have some unique experience which is absolutely pleasant whenever I have it. So, if that is so, I am motivated to get that same state but in conscious form, and that's what meditation is all about. Gaining that state in conscious form when my body and mind are thoroughly inactive, and then whatever I experience, that will be more in real time as opposed to what I experienced in deep, dreamless sleep. Now that experience will be in real time, and that is called as upasana. So these are threefold pursuits we want to, and that unique experience of our ability to experience. So today we want to, last week we discussed knowledge, this week we are devoting to action. Some basic observations, I have used this slide in session 6 also. Knowledge and action are common to all species, but upasana is very unique to us. Upasana, which is Ishwar upasana, being with that infinite consciousness called as Ishwar in Sanskrit, is unique experience for humans alone. It is only us that we have the privilege to be in this state. Animals may get to the deep, dreamless sleep, which we have no idea whether they go there or not. If they go there, that is not exclusive to us, but upasana is exclusively for us. It is the climax associated with joy and pleasure of life and is the conclusive experiential evidence of the infinite consciousness. So, as I said, we are following science of sciences, Vedic unified theory of matter and consciousness, which is not faith based, unlike religions. This is evidence based. So, we have to prove that existence of our person, tiny consciousness, of the infinite consciousness can be proved by acceptable evidences. And that is what meditation practice is all about. Karma and dharma, humans versus others. We have discussed partly this issue. What we noticed was, as far as other species are concerned, they always behave according to their dharma. And indeed, they have no choice. A cow is always behaving like a cow, a lion or a tiger always like a lion or a tiger, a horse. They always follow their dharma. But when it comes to human beings, we may even know our dharma, and yet we have the freedom not to follow it. Finally, what I execute, finally, what I did is my karma. In other words, so to say, all other species, their karma and dharma are all the same. Their karma is coinciding with their dharma. However, for human beings, our karma may tally with our dharma or may not tally with our dharma. Others may have more powerful motor organs for all kinds of activities, like certain animal species. They can swim right after their birth, they can walk right after their birth, and when they are adult, they can walk and run much faster than we can do. They have much more physical strength, like an elephant or camel or horse. So we do not have such kind of powerful motor organs. As I said, others' karma are always aligned with their respective dharma. No freedom of action. They have no freedom to act different from their dharma. Whereas humans have the freedom to deviate from their dharma, even if one knows it. Sometimes I may be ignorant about my dharma, but there are occasions that I am aware of my dharma, and yet I have the freedom that I can deviate from it. And finally, what I have done is my karma. This dimension of karma is very important in our life because that gives rise to various diversity among human society. The diversity is basically on two accounts. One is we have different trades and professions, such as wide ranging from accountant to zookeeper. And that is because we can specialize in certain skills based on certain knowledge, and the society wants to utilize everybody's strength in a more efficient manner via division of labor. So one who is good has more physical strength and less intelligence, they can engage in manual labor. Those who are very more intelligent, they go for research and teaching. All these kinds of things are there, which we will have an opportunity to discuss in session number 9, how we have organized the society on this account. But there is another category that is depending on the nature and quality of our karma, in particular, how it affects others. And this is another unique features of us, that we can harm others as well as benefit others. Because we can deviate from our dharma, animals cannot deviate from dharma. So every animal is always a good animal, but every human being has a choice to be a good human being or a bad human being. So that is another categorization in the nature of qualitative categories based on, in each of these states, and even an accountant, an architect, a doctor can further classify into these three categories. The Sanskrit terms are Devata, Manushya, and Rakshas. This is noble people. These are average human beings, and these are very bad human beings, demons like. So this talking about the average, he interacts with others in a reasonably average manner in terms of give and take relationship is equal. He gives you something and takes you in the equal measure. Like you go to a store, you buy something for a certain price, and if the commodity is at the right quality, is at the right price, you are happy with it. And the storekeeper is also happy. So this is a usual worldly relationship that we are very much familiar with. And we hope and expect that the people we interact with us are reasonable, good, decent human beings, at least in this category. So they give goodness and they take something in equal measure. While this is on a lower side, he harms others for his personal gains. So he gives you pain and suffering and takes away your money, your happiness, your other things. So that is a undesirable behavior on from a human being. This is the Devata, a good person who gives you good joy and pleasure, things that are likely to benefit you, and even without expecting anything in return. So there are such people, and we are familiar right from day one in our life. Our mother and father are usually in this category. They give us everything without expecting anything in return. This is a unique feature we have discussed briefly in session number 4, and we have also looked at it. There is a fantastic mechanism in the nature in infinite consciousness design that if we are on downslide, then conscience warns us. For example, say I am a person in this category, but if I toy with an idea to do something like what this person does, and I am about to execute in this direction, then there is a triple warning within me, as if that infinite consciousness, who is more subtle than I am, and who exists within me, warns me one after another 3 consecutive times, and by raising an element of doubt, then fear, and then shame. That if I am about to do that wrongful bad act, then there is a doubt in my mind if it is the wise thing to do. And I am forced to review the situation. If I still decide to go forward, then there is an element of fear. I always want to ensure that nobody sees me when I am doing something wrongful. And then the last third warning is there that there is some reminder, some kind of a reminder that if other people come to know of it, then it will be a shameful situation. So the triple warning in the form of doubt, fear, and shame, as if that infinite consciousness, who did not quite program me, who gave me the freedom, yet he is guiding me deep within me, that not to engage in such bad act. So he does this kind of triple warning one after another. But if still we decide, we have a choice, we can still decide and continue to do the bad karma. And once it is executed, it is gets registered in my account of all karma, and then finally I have to go through the consequences according to the law of karma. So these are the issues related to karma that we want to discuss in this session. Not only as far as that infinite consciousness is concerned, that guides us to stay away from the negative path, but this is his wonderful design. We naturally become a devata as a parent, albeit in a small orbit of our tiny home. So the day a man becomes a father and a woman becomes a mother, we become a devata for our child. Even a criminal, hardcore criminal, he may be a rakshas in this category in the society, but when he returns home, in his tiny home, with respect to his own children, he is a devata. So that is his design, that not only he wants us not to slip down in this direction, he further elevates me naturally. He puts me in this pedestal of devata the day I become a mother or a father. Intellect of devatas and Pitaras. I have shown this slide, Yajurved 32nd chapter, 14th verse. Yam medham devganaha pitaraschopas. Taya ma madhya medhayagne medhavinam kurusvaha. What I am saying is, when I recite this, may I be blessed with a superior quality of intellect that is possessed by devatas and pitaras. So here the nomenclature is, this is basically the same devata, manushya and rakshas, but there is a intermediate scale here between them. Between devata and manushya there is one pitara, and on the negative side, between manushya and rakshas, there is another category called as gandharv. It is just a categorization, like in the world also we see some people are rich people, some are middle class economically, and some are poor. And then we say there is a lower middle class, upper middle class, and all kinds of things. So this kind of categorization is possible on account of our action. This is not an account of our knowledge that you become a devata. You may have all kinds of good knowledge, but it depends on how do your actions affect others. If they affect others to elevate their joy and happiness, you are moving in this direction. If you are a cause of pain and suffering to others, then you are moving in this direction. Law of karma, one reaps what one sows. Naturally, if we have the freedom to act, then we become accountable to the agency who gave us the freedom, and that accountability is in the terms of law of karma. It's very simple statement is one reaps what one sows. What you have done to others, it will be coming back to you. It comes back to you all over again. That is what is law of karma. If you have been harming others for long, you will also find that harm. If you have been helping others, you will also be helped. So it must be there. The law of karma must be there. Otherwise, diversity among newly born children cannot be logically explained. The instance here is, imagine you visit a maternity home where 10 children were born today, just in a gap of last few hours. But doctors say that they have widely different characteristics. Say one child is blind, born with some defects in his heart, and many children are born in a very usual, normal manner, characteristics. But there can be quite a few of variations. So the question arises, these children, these babies have just been born, and why do they exhibit so much of diversity? That one is born blind, one has a certain body parts are deformed, and one has a cardiac problem right at the birth. Why so many, so much diversity among these 10 infants who have just been born today, who have not done anything in this world in the last few hours that could have caused this diversity? So the question is, what is the diversity caused? Of course, the answer is their karma, their action in their previous life have given rise to this diversity. So because their karma were widely different, so today they seem to possess widely different characteristics, and that's what is this diversity about. So there are two things here. The law of karma is saying that once you have done something, you have to face the consequences. And if not in this life, then in the future life. And secondly, what it says is that it is bound to be life and death. Yeah. Birth and death are cyclic. Like we have been born, we live in this world, we will die, we are very confident, sure about that. So we were born at certain some years ago, we will die some years later, but that is not the end of the story. We will be born again, and again there will be death. So when we explain that diversity among newly born children, then we see that law of karma is applicable, as well as the fact that they have inherited many things from their previous lives. So after the birth, there is a death, and that gives rise to again birth. But yes, that's what is mukti or moksha, liberation, emancipation, to break away from the cycle of birth and death. There is no forgiveness in law of karma. If somebody is forgiven, then there is arbitrariness, and then some kind of a favoritism. All that is not possible because every law is working in a perfect manner. And that must be true with the law of karma also. Then, as a human life, we have the freedom, but if we have misused this freedom, say we have killed many animals for no reason, then after the end of the current life, freedom is curtailed, and then next time we may not be born as a human life, maybe as another animal. Should not. So if we all this game of humans and other species in the universe is based on the fact that the law of karma is functioning, and if you have not used the law of human life properly, then you don't deserve it after the death of the current life. After you leave this world, then you may have to be born in a different way where you don't deserve this freedom again because you misused it. This is how we also operate our society. We have law of land here, which gives us enormous freedom. But if somebody misuses this freedom and say kills somebody, then for no reason, then we also curtail his freedom and he is sentenced into a prison or for certain years of life. And for some serious offenses, maybe he has to go through capital punishment, even he doesn't even deserve to live anymore. When it comes to law of karma, there are probably multiple or at least two lines of accounting. We are familiar with one line of accounting, like we prepare any business house's balance sheet or our own personal bank account. What we do is there is only one line of accounting. Expenditure is subtracted from the income. So it is only one dimension of money. So if money has been earned, it is added into. If money has been spent away, it is subtracted. Finally, there is one figure: how much is my current wealth at this point of time? But it seems like the accounting in the law of karma is not that simple. Particularly, there has to be two lines of accounting because all our positive karma, like as a devata, they will give rise to joy, pleasure, and happiness. And we might have done something in form of a bad karma that we harmed somebody unnecessarily, then we deserve to be given some sort of pain and misery. Now, the layperson may think that the second negative karma, if it has certain weightage, certain magnitude, it could be subtracted from the first positive karma so that rather than being rewarded with some pain and misery, I am rewarded with diminished pleasure. So that is a layperson's outlook, but that probably is not the case. And there are Vedic verses that indicate that that is definitely not the case. So the law of karma functions exactly one eye for an eye. Everything that I have done will be rewarded for, will be taken into account. Good things will bring good rewards, bad karma will bring bad rewards. The bad karma cannot be subtracted from the good karma so that there is no bad reward. Both karma will bring their respective reward. That brings us to another nomenclature, karma yoni and bhog yoni. We human beings are able to perform a karma that has been selected out of multiple choices. But other species merely go on living programmed. But then the question arises, like we have feet to walk and run, they also have feet to walk and run, and they can run faster than we do in certain cases. Then if I am walking, it is my karma. If an animal is walking or running, why should it not be called as karma? This is a technical term. The answer, of course, is whatever I do, I will be rewarded, I will be held accountable for that. In that sense, it is a karma because it will be judged according to the law of karma. However, the animal is walking and running is not a karma in that sense. It doesn't bring any reward because he has no other choice. He is merely doing to be doing. So, what does that mean? Seemingly, his karma is just an activity, so to say. We can say it is a kriya. It is not a karma that it will bring a reward. He is not responsible for its action, whereas I am responsible for my action, and that responsibility is due to the freedom, and that responsibility gives rise to accountability, and accountability is delivered by the law of karma. So, the other species are merely going through the experiences observed out of their actions in the preceding human life, so to say. So that's why they are doing Bhog Yoni. We are on a reference plane. We are always earning our account book is always functioning. We are adding into it every moment, while others are merely going through the experiences that they have earned in their previous human life. So that is the way to look at the nature of our life and others' life. We are in Karma Yoni. We are building up our accounts while they are not building up their accounts. They are merely the previous human life's account is being taken care of. And once those experiences are done, they will be back to a balance sheet of zero, back to a human life. So humans are on the reference line of karma with broadly three choices. As I have said, we have a choice to follow our dharma, to do the contrary to our dharma, or just give it a pass, do nothing. It's a Sanskrit terms are kartum, akartum, na kartum. Example, say we are driving on a street that somebody riding a motorcycle has met an accident. Then the question arises, in this event, this incident, now I have these three choices. Broadly speaking, I can take that person to a nearby hospital. The second option is, yes, I can take away his money from his pocket because he cannot object to it, he cannot it. So I can do something which are of course a bad karma, wrongful karma, adharma. I can harm him, misusing his conditions. And third option is of course, I have seen this event, this incident, and I just go on my business as if nothing has happened. But this also is my conscious choice that I don't want to get involved. So this is also my karma, so to say. And of course, there are several other choices in between of them. You can mix them in between, but these are three broad choices we have. That is my freedom. And if I always build a positive account, I will stay as a human life and may have the privilege to even break away from the cycle of birth and death. If I strengthen my account in this direction, then I may have to forget about this privilege of the human life and may have to go through some animal's life. I don't deserve this freedom anymore. And this is somewhere in between that nobody knows how will it be accounted for. Humans have the freedom to deviate from their dharma even if one knows it. Like in this particular instance, I know that I should help that motorcycle rider, but I didn't care to do that. That is the freedom I have. Law of karma, there are some more issues like dynamics of karma and cycle of birth, death, and birth. Just like day and night are cycle, day follows the night and night follows the death. Day, it is endless cycle. Similarly, our life is we have been born and everybody knows we will die again, and that will lead to another birth as a human life or maybe non-human form. Life has a that we will probably discuss in the next slides, that it gives us an opportunity that I can break away from this cycle of birth and death. Born this time, I have to die once. I have to of death. But if I have made good use of the current human life, then I may not have to go to another birth. That will be the breakaway from the cycle of birth and death that is called as mukti. But let's look at a common man situation. How does his life function? So, as a karma is going on, a karma is going through a dynamics, and that is viewed according to the law of karma, is viewed as three possibilities. So to say, Kiyaman, Sanchit, and Prarabdha. English translation is ongoing. This is executed, and now it has been credited into one's account. And then this is post certain gestation period. This is able to give its rewards. So based on that, timeline of a karma goes through these. I will give you an example. Say I decide to kill somebody, Mr. X, and I have decided that I will do it by way of shooting him through a gun. So this is an idea, thought at this point. And it will be several days and weeks when I implement my plan. I have to buy a gun, proper kind of bullets. I have to learn this shooting so that I can take proper aim. I have to do the recce of that individual, Mr. X. See where does he live, where does he go for work, and things like that. What will be a right opportunity to kill him without getting caught by the police and so on and so forth. I have to make an elaborate plan to execute several weeks and months. But until I have shot him, I have not quite executed that particular action. The action of killing another person has not been performed fully unless I have killed him. But I am doing all other kinds of minor tasks in order to prepare myself for that finality. And those small karma that every day I do, buying a gun, buying bullets, learning to shoot, the nature of ongoing Kiyaman. As far as that final action of killing a person is concerned, these are ongoing. They are karma in a small subsets, but they have not finally caused that murder, killing. So this is in the nature of Kiyaman. Suppose finally I kill that person, now it has been sealed. This is Sanchit. I have performed an action of killing another individual human being. So that action goes into my account, being particular reward. And that reward may take some time. So that time phase is called a gestation period. That particular karma has been executed and it's going through a process of ripening. Its reward is undergoing a gestation period. Once that gestation period is over, now I experience the reward, the fruits of that action, and now that particular karma is called as my fate. Now this is delivering the reward which I am experiencing. I am going to the bhog of that rewards which accumulated on account of that particular karma that I had executed. So this is a timeline of dynamics. This is important to understand so that we know certain karma may bring instantaneous reward, like if I am careless in my kitchen and I cut my finger, it gives me instantaneous pain and blood comes out, then I put a band-aid and all that to minimize the pain. The action here was careless use of knife and the reward came almost instantaneously that there is a cut in my finger and there was some pain and I lost some blood. But there are certain actions, we know it, like we are learning Vedic unified theory of matter and consciousness, Vedic philosophy. We will pick up some ideas, somebody will assimilate those ideas in a particular manner, will get some sort of inspiration to do certain good karma in his life, and they will bring the rewards. So, this is an action we are doing, namely understanding, attending certain classes and certain sessions and getting to learn something. This is an action, but its benefits will come maybe some months, years later. So gestation period is long, is it not? So that's what all this we are talking about, dynamics of karma. Karma at stage 2 becomes, it has been sealed, it has been executed. Now it cannot be undone, especially in that particular case when I killed somebody. Now that person cannot be brought back into life. So it was in stage 2, Sanchit, it has been sealed. Now it goes through the gestation period, what is called karma vipak. It is ripening, and once it is fully ripened, it is coming in the stage 3. And now I am going through the experience of the rewards, and sometimes I enjoy them, and sometimes I dislike them. Whatever that is, they are the impressions on my mind, sense of liking and disliking certain experience. Now, under the influence of those impressions, I perform a new series of karma. Say I did some good karma, the reward was I got some nice fruits to eat, and I like the taste of those fruits. I want to buy them more, and for that I want to earn more money. So this is new karma I want to do so that I earn some money to buy those fruits which I had enjoyed here. So now these further karma are bring me to this cycle. They will again get into a ripening. So this cycle goes on. And once this cycle is there, even if I die, this accounting is ongoing. So I have to be born again because that balance sheet has to be brought to zero. Otherwise, it goes on. So this is what leads to the cycle of birth, death, and birth again and again. Three more slides, I'll go a bit fast. Now, an intelligent human being who is a superior kind, he decides, I don't go by law of karma. Of course, there is a law of karma, but it is so complex, its dynamics is so complex. I want to do good karma just for the sake of it. So I am not attached to the fruits of my karma, rewards of my karma. I don't look forward to, I have no expectations. I just want to do good karma. So this is a high order inspiration he has, and this becomes nishkam karma, detached action. So there are many good people in the society we see. They go and just volunteer for some work. They don't get any money, but they just get some sort of self satisfaction, and that is enough for them. So those kind of actions will come in this category where one expects nothing. So he's not concerned with the reward of his acts. He just does it, just likes to do that. Just like a mother's child. Sometimes mother may say to her child, if you do this, I will give you a candy. And the child does it and enjoys eating that candy. But then there is another family where the relationship between mother and child is such that mother says, instructs her child to do something, and the child does it happily, enjoys it. Even though the child doesn't get any candy, but child enjoys it. It becomes part of child's nature that yes, I like doing it what my mother tells me. So in that category, this will be that child is getting trained in the direction of nishkam karma, detached action. And in the Vedic vocabulary, there is a new term for that. It's called yajna. So yajna is a term for any action that we do where we expect no reward. It is just for the benefit of others. We are not concerned with what it is going to bring to us. So the root yaj is said to be in the directions of Dev Puja, Sangati Karan, Daneshu. Puja is to honor somebody. Dev, as we have seen, is another word for Devta. It can be not only the sentient human beings, like even sun is Devta, that gives us light and heat. The moon, the earth, the air, the water. So Devta can be anything that gives us goodness. Puja is to honor it. If I take care of air, I don't pollute air. That means air is a devta and I am trying to honor it to my capacity. Sangati Karan is to bring them assimilate together for better use. Daneshu is to give away. So they can be different, like a noble person who is now very old and I give my time, I take some care of his health, I take him to certain places because he cannot drive anymore. So I am donating my time for a particular person who is a Devata category. So this is called as, this is less known by people, but I must point out. This is a peculiar style in Sanskrit. The term Dev has its shadow over the three terms. It's not just for puja. Dev is with Sangati Karan Dane. So Yaj will be there if I honor Devatas, in company of Devatas, if I give something to a Devata. An effort to honor noble people, noble things, bringing them together for greater impact and giving to them something which is for their good. That is yajna karma. And if you are performing such loftier karma and not wanting anything in return, I dedicate it to Ishwar, that infinite consciousness. Because his karma are always yajna karma. He doesn't do anything for himself. So I try to follow in his footsteps and dedicate all my karma to him. Because I don't want any reward. I am in the direction of detached action, nishkam karma. I do only yajna karma, like Ishwar does. So my that way of life is characterized as Ishwar Pranidhan. Patanjali uses this term in his Yoga Sutras. Maybe I'll use it in the next week's session. What it means is surrendering all karma to Ishwar, as if I am not. And there is in a third way, there is an interesting verse of Om Udvadik Brahaspati Adhipati Shutro Yakshita Varshamisha. It's a good example. I should be inspired like a rain-making cloud. Rain-making cloud goes, disperses to all directions and brings clean filtered water to people who are thirsty, to every patch of the earth. It doesn't wait for people to come to it. It itself goes on, goes here and there to deliver clean filtered water. And having showered all that, that cloud itself is no more visible. It has, even its own identity is not there anymore. So that is in the climax of what a human being can do, can give away all that it has for others and keeping nothing to self. Ultimate human objective is mukti, moksha, nirvana, whatever you call it, liberation from the cycle of birth and death. This is again misunderstood. Common man thinks mukti comes as a reward of action because he thinks law of karma is functioning. If I do all good actions, it will bring me a reward in terms of the. And the best actions we have discussed in previous slide as yajna karma, nishkam karma, like a rain-making cloud does it. Then, of course, the question arises in a common man's mind, even if I give away everything, if that is not going to bring me mukti, then how do I get it? What is it? What is the purpose of all this yajna karma and nishkam karma? Then it is said, the true purpose of nishkam karma is purification of mind. And that burns the sanskars that are lying in our mind, under whose influence we go on this cycle of karma and karma phal, karma and karma phal. That cycle is broken, but that doesn't mean I will become a liberated soul. It is merely that my mind is purified. And that purified mind can be, can attain the mukti by this following this direction, namely Jnanat Mukti. That is the statement in Sankhya. Mukti is not obtained by action but by knowledge. But here one can be misunderstanding. Knowledge is not the knowledge that a common man thinks. This is that superior knowledge about my own self and that of infinite consciousness. That Vidya type of knowledge which is gained experientially, not just by reading books or listening to somebody's talks. I have gone through what is called self realization and Ishwar realization. When I have gone through that process, then I become deserving for mukti. And for that to happen, it is a very efficient mechanism to have a pure, clean mind. And that all the good karmas help me, even if I was a crooked mind, a dirty mind, thinking of always the all those tendencies will be vanishing. So with good karma, nishkam karma and yajna karma, positive tendencies. Now why this is the only way to gain mukti is because bondage is due to the inner darkness, and that inner darkness gets removed by the inner light of knowledge. If you enter into a room and if it is dark, you may do hundreds of things, that darkness will not go away. You may use a gun, but that darkness will not go away. The only way that darkness goes away by switching on a light, by generating a small source of light. Similarly, the inner darkness in our mind, that's what led us to this bondage. That can be removed only through the inner light of knowledge, that particular knowledge of self-realization. A quick summary, last slide. We have a freedom of thought as well as that of action. This is taking us in the knowledge direction. We have discussed only we human beings perform actions. Other species are merely going through their programmed action, which can be treated merely as an activity. Due to our chosen actions, we form certain categories. Of course, one is based on our trade, but more important is quality of a human being. Even though we all look like a human being, we can become as bad as a demon or as good as a natural human being, or even can rise to the highest pedestal of being a devata. All this is based on the quality of karma. Of course, there is a law of karma that brings rewards, and somebody may be inspired to become a devata so as to get good reward. But again, there are superior quality of people who say that I am not concerned about any reward. I don't want fruits of any action. I just do it for sake of it, just for my own inner satisfaction. Nishkam karma, and ultimate of that is called yajna in the Vedic terminology. Now there is a possibility of misunderstanding that I do these nishkam karma and yajna karma to gain mukti, the cycle of birth and death. Then it is clarified noblest karma don't bring mukti, have a purpose in the sense they purify my mind. And only this purified mind will be capable of going through the upasana process, which we'll discuss next week. That deep meditation process that I can go through self-realization only brings mukti. So mukti is not a reward for karma, but is achieved or is attained from self-realization. Thank you for your attention. We will meet again in session number 8, dedicated to Upasana, the third dimension of human pursuits. See you next week. See you next week. Until then, have a good time.